Let's critique another resume that a viewer sent in. I hid all of the personal details. Let's look at the resume from an objective point of view. As we did in the earlier critique videos, we're going to look at 3 key things. One is the structure and the format. The second is the content. And third is looking at the details and making sure that there are no errors. So let's first take a look at the structure and the format. Just from a one-pager point of view, it follows the standard resume format for financial analysts, which is good. It separates out sections. However, there is no space between each section, so it's hard to navigate with your eyes where to look first. So we would want to add a bit of space in between each section. Secondly, let's see, we have profile, education, certifications, licenses, experience, finance and quantitative skills, and technical and computer skills. There are way too many sections here. So what I would do is have the profile, leave this section. Education, it looks like, is after profile because this person doesn't actually have any work experience or relevant work experience. So they did want to highlight the education, which is fine. At least combine the licenses together with certifications. So we can put education and certifications. I think that would be better. And then we don't need to have the divider for this. We can list the certifications. Experience is fine. Finance and quantitative skills. The technical and computer skills, PowerPoint, Word, Outlook, Excel, these are all things that the companies would already assume you know how to do. So it is just wasted space here. And in fact, hiring managers, when they see these skills like this, it's way too simple and they assume that the person who's behind this resume wrote these very elementary skills because they don't really have anything else to show for it. So I would take out this, I think Python programming, if this person indeed does know how to program, should be highlighted. The Bloomberg terminal, it's also something that you can easily learn. You can even have like help desk to find research for you and stuff. So it's not really something that's going to sell yourself. When we look at the format of the dates, you see how the dates here don't line up? 2 lines up at here, and the 3, 4, 4, 4, these don't line up. That is very important, even here, 5 and the 4. And why is the GPA in the same line as the month and year? All of these are things that the hiring manager is going to look at because they want to know if you are somebody who is detail oriented. As well, you want to line up these to match the line over here. So I would take this and then justify it to the right so that it matches this line over here. On the left over here, you see the bullet points, and then the subline under each bullet point doesn't match with the bullets here. So this also looks very unorganized because you can't easily see that the Chartered Financial Analyst belongs to the CFA Institute. So I would indent all of these. And same thing over here too. Indent these. Very, very important to have consistency in formatting and structure. Let's move on to the content. Let's start from the top with the profile section. Motivated finance graduate with a strong foundation in financial analysis and investment strategies, proficient in leveraging both fundamental and quantitative methods, eager to apply academic training and analytical skills in a portfolio analyst role to drive data-driven decision-making and optimize portfolio performance. Now imagine you're the hiring manager for a role, especially in this job environment where there are way more people looking for finance jobs than companies that are hiring. You get hundreds and hundreds of resumes. Reading this profile section, what stands out about this candidate? Would the hiring manager read the profile, if they did, and think this person has the experience that I'm looking for? Now, I'm not trying to put this person down who submitted the resume. In fact, I think it was very brave of anybody who sends in the resumes. I'm trying to help you have a critical point of view and be objective with yourself. And the answer to my question is nothing really stands out because nothing is specific to this person's experience or knowledge. What I mean by that is when you read the profile, it's all really generic. Motivated finance grad. Well, pretty much everybody who's looking for a financial analyst role has a finance degree. And if they don't, then something in that field. Strong foundation in financial analysis and investment strategies, but how? How does the hiring manager know that you have a strong foundation in this knowledge? All of this profile, unfortunately, is not helpful. In structuring the profile and the rest of the sections as well, but the rest of the sections, it's all really facts and how you frame the facts. But the profile is your chance to put a few sentences together that highlight in key order what your experience or what the facts below are. So we're going to come back to this after we've looked at the rest of the content. But as we go through the rest of the resume, always remember this. How do you stand out from the crowd? What do you have to offer compared to everybody else? And if you don't have the experience, then it can be something else. Let's explore that. Next, let's look at the education section. Chartered Financial Analyst designation, CFA Level 3 candidate, August 2024, CFA Institute, Charlottesville, Virginia. First of all, we don't need to write this because people in finance will already know what CFA is and they're not going to be concerned with the headquarters of the CFA Institute. What does August 2024 mean? If you're currently a candidate in the CFA program, include your participation in the CFA program in the education section, which you've already done. That's great. For example, CFA program participant, CFA Institute. You may also list the levels completed. For example, completed level 1 in 2020. You may use the term candidate only if you're actively registered for an exam. So I don't think that you can actually put the month and year, but you can put completed level 2 in 2023 or 2024. Next is Master of Science, Finance, Investment Management, and Quantitative Analysis. So let's take a look at the content and the details together because this is going to come up as we go through each section. Here you notice there is a dash. Here there is a colon. You have to choose one and be consistent. I would put the location kind of separately and then line up the University of Massachusetts and BMS College of Engineering. And then you can put in brackets Bangalore, India. And then here the GPA 4.0 doesn't match dates, so do not put that here. And GPA 4.0 is something that you want to highlight because that is one of the things that make you stand out. You could even put Master of Science Finance and then in dash GPA or 4.0 GPA. And then you can have comma investment management and quantitative analysis. But to be honest, I actually wouldn't put this in here because I think finance really encapsulates all of that already. So you're just wasting space where it's making it really busy and the hiring manager would not even be able to see the GPA 4.0 because of too much wording here. And then under the certifications, Corporate Finance Institute, Financial Modeling and Valuations Analyst, Udemy, Python for Business and Finance Bootcamp, Bloomberg, Market Concepts, Finance Fundamentals, and ESG Concepts. The licenses is a lot more ranked in importance than certifications, so I would actually put this one above all of these other ones. Corporate Finance Institute, Udemy, Bloomberg, these are not organizations where you have to be distinguished, but why did you do the certifications? To give yourself more knowledge. So that knowledge is what's more important and what you should be highlighting. So I would put these in front of where you did it first, So far up to here, a few things that you can highlight as something that makes you stand out. Let me mark it so that we can come back to it later. CFA level 3 candidate is one thing. GPA 4.0 is another thing. I'm going to say actually having FINRA as a license is going to be one thing. Python is going to be also another thing that stands out, as well as the financial modeling and valuation. It's not going to be something that makes you stand out, but we can add that in as to show that you're somebody who is always wanting to learn. So we can put that in there. The first experience listed is Forge JP Morgan Asset. First of all, none of this really explains the result. I'm curious as to why you put the result in front. To me, a lot of what you said here as results are not applicable because they're not actually results. So results would be more let's say, closed, certain hundreds of millions of dollars, or helped reduce stock inventory for a small business by 30%, or you helped to decrease the invoice processing and accounts payable outstanding days from 90 days to 45 days. Those are specific and concrete results that you can convey to the hiring manager. But the results that you've listed here are more of what you did as part of each of the experience. And if you're just talking about what you did, again, going back to putting on the hat of the hiring manager, are they really going to care how you spent your time? Not really, because they have hundreds of resumes to filter through. And so what they want to know is specifically, what did you do? How did you stand out? How did you drive the results? What were the results? If you say something like underperformed the S&P 500 benchmark by minus 0.5% due to constraints, okay, what were the constraints? Why did it underperform by minus 0.5%? And do you really want to highlight that you underperformed? Or if you were to say Walmart stock undervalued by a range of 4 to 9%, how? Using DDM, FCF, and PE ratios, does that tell you anything about the fact that you know how to do these? Because anybody can write that they used these things to derive these numbers. And why is it undervalued by these numbers then? What made you get to that point? Look, it's really tricky, right, for people who don't have work experience to try to come up with something in the experience section. Because at the end of the day, somebody has to give them a shot in order for them to have that first experience, and then that snowballs into the second experience, and that's how people get through the door and build their career. What I would do is, in the experience section, you can write out what you did that can be transferred, and again, reading it through, focus on the volume aspect. You can say portfolio of unique investor profiles to propose suitable investments. And then in the next bullet point, you can put calculated the portfolio key performance indicators such as, and list out what they are specific to these companies. So for example, let's say if the unique investor was a millionaire farmer, then you would want to create a portfolio that does not correlate to millionaire's business. Maybe some example industries of those that you would recommend for that investor. What were they? And write that out specifically what you did. Steps 1, 2, 3. And what were the proposed recommendations 1, 2, 3. To me, as a hiring manager, that shows that you're not just talking fluff, but that you are a critical thinker. Showing that you did many profiles, that shows me volume as well. Now, equity research report on Thermo Fisher Scientific. This goes against volume again. So we want to show that you've done many equity research reports, not just on Thermo. So you have to, take that out and say something like researched and wrote equity research reports for the top 10 like pharma medical device companies or healthcare or insurance companies, whatever it is. Again, and showing your critical thinking skills. Instead of saying your recommendation is just short-term, hold, and long-term buy, write a sentence about what you learned or what your opinion is about the equity research that you wrote on in that industry. So I would write that as a bullet point instead. Investment portfolio of stocks and ETFs. So I'm assuming that this is your own portfolio, or maybe you can combine these two together where it says financial model to value Walmart. Instead of saying Walmart Harvard Business Case Study, you can also write financial, valued companies for your investment portfolio of stocks and ETFs. And then under that, for each bullet, after you combine these two, you can write specifically one about the types of companies that you had in that portfolio. Again, you can talk about the industry or you can list out a few of those companies. Then you can write your investment thesis or your specific and unique way to value and research these companies. And you list these out, but write them out as one of the bullet points. Created hundreds or tens of free cash flow model using annual reports and quarterly reports from SEC. You can write something that you observed, like one of the findings from reading through the MD&A section of the annual reports for the top insurance companies. I found that XYZ, and list them out, are some of the key determinant factors in the company's increased revenue or higher capitalization leading to blah, blah, blah. So something very specific, again, to show volume, that you're proactive in learning because you are doing equity research and creating models and valuations on your own, and that you know how to do it. You're not just listing it out, but you're putting your unique critical thinking spin on what you found from doing that research. And then finally, a part-time freelance finance instructor is totally fine. And then again, instead of result, I would put bullet point. And instead of saying assisted students, you can say tutored students with their homework assignment. What kind? Were they math? Were they finance? What grades were they that you usually helped with? And did you only do this for 1 month? Think about if you did it for more than that, because you don't really want to show that short period of time. Another thing to note here for details is why are homework assignments, case studies, and projects in capital letters? And then the final two sections, if you combined these two skills section together, this can really be 2 bullet points. One bullet point is proficient at the suite of Microsoft Office products, including creating valuation models with VBA and PowerPoint decks. Actually, that's it. That's all you need to write. What are important for the hiring manager? That you know how to create decks and that you know how to create valuation models. Word and Outlook, putting it here is shooting yourself in the foot. And then I would highlight the Python. Like if you really do know how to do the Python programming, I would write that as a bullet point and write what you've created in your programming. And then for finance and quantitative skills, this is similar to what I talked about earlier. Write out exactly what that is. Let's see, conducted top-down analysis by evaluating macroeconomic environments and sector trends to inform security selection. Way too generic. Again, anybody can say this. What does it even mean to evaluate macroeconomic environments and sector trends? But maybe you're a finance grad and you did do a lot of this economic analysis because you're a whiz at it. Then write specifically what that was. Econometric techniques like what? Accurate forecasting of what? Decision making for whom? Who's making the decision here? And don't write utilized and conducted because these are listing out skills as opposed to that you've done it before. Perform portfolio analysis, risk assessment, and credit analysis to maintain a balanced and diversified investment strategy. Again, way too generic. Portfolio analysis of what? Risk assessment of what? Credit analysis of what? Maintain a balanced, what does it mean by a balanced investment strategy? How was it diverse? What was the split? What was the percentage split between stocks and bonds or whatever that you're talking about in terms of investment strategy. When you say ensured compliance with regulatory standards, this would put your resume in the no pile. Why? Because this to me sounds like BS. How do you know what the ensured compliance is if you've never had experience working for a real company before? So don't write fluff like this that you don't have backup for. Applied knowledge means that you've actually worked with financial derivatives. So if that's the case, list it out, such as what and for whom. Integrated bottom-up analysis with corporate financial strategy and financial statement analysis for comprehensive evaluation. Now list out exactly what that was. What does it mean by bottom-up analysis? What does it mean by financial strategy? So at this point, this person has a long way to go. But the first thing you have to do is take out the fluff. Just because you don't have the experience, it doesn't mean you should just fill it with more words. What it means is you show a lot of white space, of blank section. That's okay. You have a lot of proactive keenness to learn on your own and apply different evaluation skills and critical thinking skills to do this on your own. So if a company hires you, then you would not be coming in completely blind. You have the work ethic and you have some foundation of knowledge. And the hiring manager does not need to think that you know everything. Once you write out the specifics in this section here of what kind of investment portfolios have you really valued, what was your specific investment thesis and strategy, what were the findings from your own research, then you can put that as part of the profile section. So you could have a couple of sentences in the profile, such as recent finance grad with a 4.0 GPA and CFA level 3 candidate with continuous proactive learning in investment valuation, created own portfolio of stocks that track the S&P 500 performance, researched and built free cash flow models for 30 companies with a focus in the healthcare sector, which led to developing my own investment thesis. Now that's just a hypothetical example, but you can already see how focused the narrative is in the profile section and not as generic anymore. To wrap up, the key takeaways from this resume critique is if you don't have any work experience, then you want to show, first of all, make the edits that I explained, and then second of all, pick one or two industries and evaluation tool and really dive deep into learning them. Instead of taking classes across various fields, just pick and become an expert in one or two things. Then you won't face the problem of being generic in each section. For example, maybe you pick and create a free cash flow model for 50 genetic engineering companies. You'll become a quasi-expert in that, and that will come across in the resume, the knowledge and the confidence. And you'll also be more confident when you reach out to network for your first job as well. So I'm going to leave you with that. I have a lot more resumes in the queue, which I have to address. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to type it all out anymore, but hopefully talking through it live like this as I critique it was helpful. Let me know what you think. And if you want your resume to be critiqued, then email me your resume here.